Welcome to the Gold Coast Speakers Podcast, where speakers have a conversation so that you can learn more about the speaker and what they talk about and who they are. My name is Zen, and I have the pleasure of talking with Michelle today. And I'm actually very excited, Michelle, because I've been fortunate to hear you speak and run your transformational workshops and experience them. So I'm really excited. So when I was asked, to be with you today, I thought, I can't wait. First up, welcome.
Thanks, Zen. Great. It's been so lovely to reconnect. It really has. An absolute delight. Yeah, and that was back in the early days, right?
Yeah,
The early days
really
when
early days.
way back when I
Way
sort of first started launching the workshops. I mean, that must be 15 odd years ago now.
15 years ago, yes.
Time flies, huh?
Yeah, time flies. And I remember you came to my yoga classes as well. It's just
Yeah,
beautiful to
love it.
reconnect. Let's get started. So my question to you, how and why did you become a transformational coach?
Yeah, look, for me, it wasn't so much a traditional sense of choosing to become a transformational coach. It was more a life path that led me here, through lived experiences and very much seeking my own insight and understanding. The first half of my life, I had so many reoccurring life cycles, patterns, behaviors, and emotions. I had to either believe I was hexed or there was a master plan at play. It's like, for the sake of my sanity, I chose the master plan. Yeah, I mean, the actual journey started for me 25 years ago. And it was like, there's got to be more to this experience. There's got to be more. So it took me on this lap around the planet, studying many different modalities, philosophies, cultures, to really to understand human behavior, emotional intelligence, trauma, and the real true power of what transformation actually is. And so it's been a culmination of all of those experiences of lived experiences. Yeah. So for me, the fundamental aspect of really being a masterful facilitator and transformational coach is the lived experience. And so, I always say there's not too many experiences that I haven't had, challenges, traumas, so to speak, except for childbirth. And that was a conscious choice. Yeah.
Beautifully said. And that's quite amazing how you've articulated that, because it makes a lot of sense in terms of your lived experience. And I was fortunate to listen to your amazing stories of what you have experienced.
Yeah. Thanks, Anne.
That
I can't believe you're still all these years later, still with you, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, which I love,
Yeah.
So your work has a strong focus on emotional intelligence, and I'm just curious, why is that?
Yeah. Look, for myself, emotional intelligence it's a linchpin between mental and physical health. And I believe it's one of the most misunderstood of the human experiences. And in the time, stats show us 80% of the human experience is negative. We're told, and a lot of, from what I see out there, a lot of focus is on behavioral change and mindset change. The thing is, behavior is driven by emotion, sensory perception. When we understand that and we sort of reverse engineer, we're not looking so much to manage our state, which is, I see a lot of beautiful people in my clinical practice when I'm working in any arena, as I say, from creatives to corporates. We're taught to manage. We're taught to fix, but we're not broken. As a species, we're not broken. But we just haven't been taught how to translate these negative emotions. I mean, if we couldn't read or write, we'd be deemed illiterate. Yeah. And so our emotions are in a language that we haven't been taught how to translate. And so when we're told to shift our mindset, and this is what I always sort of say, asking, I was speaking to some real estate agents the other day. How often do you think positive but still feel stressed and there's a lack of joy in your life, right? Yeah. And so we have a dissonance. We have what we call a cognitive dissonance, a polarization between the two. And so when we understand the power of our emotional intelligence and learn how to decode the negative emotion as the activator of our potential, we learn how to truly master this human experience. Yeah. And for me, we're not designed to be stuck in these loops. Yeah. And it's a negative biofeedback loop that we are stuck in. And, I was in full blown, as I probably would have shared with you back in the day, of full blown complex PTSD. And it was when I was driving home one night, a blanket in the back of my car looked like someone had passed out, because that was a real theme in my life for a very long time.
Wow.
I had a theme of death, death taught me how to live. And so when I was looking at that blanket in the back of my rear vision mirror in the back of the car, everything in me wanted to believe that I needed to give that blanket CPR. So I had to ask myself the power of that quality question. What in me wants to believe something that's not true right now? And that led me to the power of understanding the power of sensory perception, to be able to intercept that bionegative feedback loop. And every experience is anchored to an emotion, negative or positive. And so when we understand the power of our emotions, they're actually trying to set us free. But when we are in a survival mechanism and we're moving away from them versus leaning into them, the only way out is through. Like the pixel, a magnetic force that attracts our life by default or by design. So that is why, it's why I have such a high, strong focus on emotional intelligence. Yeah.
And that's brilliant, because I think there is such a big demand in that area, because, there is a gap of not really connecting from an emotional intelligence perspective. And I think,
Perspective. Yeah.
yeah, for
It's
people to
such a
understand.
powerful skill. It really did. If we couldn't read or write, we'd be deemed illiterate. And I'm dyslexic, so I knew what it was like not to be able to read or write for a very long time. People don't believe me these days. Yeah.
Amazing, Michelle.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I avoided reading and writing till I was 26 years old. Yeah. Yeah. Because it was just like, had the personality, but it was my mask for the world, and then once I learned how to harness the hemispheres of my brain.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're so right. People are just, do get caught in that negative loop, and they just don't know how to interrupt that pattern or have the understanding on how to break that code. And I think that, what you're saying is on point in terms of getting a deeper understanding and knowing how to manage it in terms of emotional regulation, because that's a
Yeah,
big one as
exactly.
well. Yeah.
Powerful. That's very
Yeah.
exactly. And when we
Yeah.
know how to have emotional regulation, to regulate ourselves, irrespective of our environment, and this is the upgrade, what I call, of the central nervous system that we're in as a species right now, upgrading that central nervous system. So when we're in self-regulation, we can correlate. We're no longer falling into those default programs, trauma bonds. And when we're self-regulating, we can correlate. And we're not depending on the other person for our safety, you know? And unless the house is burning down, God forbid I live in a wooden house, or the saber-toothed tiger is chasing us, yeah, we're safe. And so when we understand how the central nervous system's working in conjunction with our emotions and our cognition, we learn how to master the human experience.
Beautiful. So I'm just curious, what is the success method? I find that, yeah,
It would have been the soul's apprenticeship.
the Soul's Apprenticeship. I remember.
Yeah.
Yes. Please elaborate on that. Yeah.
Well, the SA stands for Soul's Apprenticeship. Yeah, I kept it in there. But, as I evolved and the different people that I serve, it was, I just evolved the title. But the success method is basically, it's a framework, an evolved framework of transformation. And again, it's my 25 years of my life work of integrating all the pieces of the puzzle into a full and entire process that empowers people to move from translation to transition to transformation. We can't go straight to transformation. Otherwise, we're overriding, we're overcompensating. And so when we understand that those reoccurring life cycles, behaviors, and triggers are the access point, which is where the access comes from. But still, the Soul's Apprenticeship got the SA in there, the access to understanding the process. It's really been coined these days, the manual on how to be human, because we didn't come
Beautiful.
with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that need to learn and understand this particular model, because, we're living
Especially in
in,
the last 5 years
oh
since,
my God, we're living
we,
in different times.
there was so many redirections through, if I may say, the pandemic COVID, And what I've been observing is that, people have, in a sense, have become aware to systems that aren't working for them anymore. Yeah. And so when that leaves people in a redirection process, and so what they thought was a truth is no longer a truth. And what it's allowed is a lot of experiences that have been suppressed to come up. So a lot of people are experiencing this chaos. A lot of people are
Yes.
experiencing fear, uncertainty.
Correct. Yes. Survival mode,
Survival mode, exactly. And
Yeah,
if we're in survival, protection, we can't be in growth. So when we understand what to do with that it's a redirection to the empowerment of self, yeah, to know how to harness those tools, those feelings, those emotions to create certainty and alignment with your internal world, yeah, the activation of this survival mode is a collective gateway to thriving in, for want of a better word, awakening. But until we can master our internal world, we're going to continually look externally for that safety. And it's not external, it's internal.
And
And
I love how you say that. I love how you say that because, we know the concept about everyone saying time out, but we actually need time in. And that's what you're talking about. Time in.
boom, mic drop. Love that.
Yeah. So, so leading from that, empathetic leadership, tell us more about that, because to me, empathetic leadership is really important right now. And I'd love to get your access of what you see and how that needs to come through in these challenging times and uncertain times.
100%. 100%. So empathy is basically a human superpower. It's how we learn to read human behavior. Yeah. And again, like emotional intelligence, I think it's a misunderstood experience, especially from a leadership perspective. Yeah. When we understand that it's not just a soft skill, it's a leadership advantage. Yeah. It really is a leadership advantage. And when we're able to empower empathy, empathy is very much, there's many levels to empathy. Let me speak to it at the high level for the time that we have right now. Bottom line is reading human behavior, and empathy is how we translate emotional intelligence. Yeah,
Yes.
which drives behavior.
Correct.
And so when we understand that we are empathic beings, and I think there's a real misperception on two levels, that it's a soft skill, and that if we take it from a perspective of people feel, you hear a lot about people who are empaths, who are overwhelmed. They feel everything and they can't be in that room for too long and they take it all on.
Correct.
That is an unconscious empath that is being called into conscious empathy.
Gotcha.
And when we learn how to harness empathy, it becomes our superpower, right? It becomes our superpower of conflict resolution. We're able to read that human behavior to consciously respond without absorbing, taking on, collapsing, overloading. If we look at it from, a sales perspective, 55% of sales increase because 91% of people who are buying from a salesperson who is empathic, 91% of people are more likely to buy from an empathic salesperson because there is true connection. Yeah. There is true connection. And when we have that true connection, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And so we're looking at conflict resolution. We can look at so many levels of, from a sales perspective, from a leadership perspective, from creating, understanding how an empathic leader's job is to be able to see that collective, their team, to create a culture, because the empathic leader's job is to activate the potential within that collective. The greater parts make the whole. And when we understand how to access that behavior to bring, the best version of that person forward, for them to feel that they are aligned in who they are being and what they are doing when it
Yeah.
comes to company culture. But
Yes.
the key to empathic leadership is mastering their internal world first. So
Yeah.
when an empathic leader has had time in their sphere of influence, which is known as the Taurus field, it has impact in the most incredible ways. Yeah. The primary one is trust. The primary one is trust. And when we,
Huge one.
yeah.
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 And when trust is in place, yeah, there's, we look at it from a business perspective, bottom line increases. When we look at it from a relational perspective, relationships thrive.
Yes.
Yeah. Without
Yeah.
it, nothing grows.
Yeah.
Without it, nothing grows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful answer, Michelle. And that's a really great explanation on that perspective, because, people have different ideologies when it comes to empathetic leadership, but there's so much more to it
Oh,
from a collective
yeah.
consciousness to be able to connect and then be persuasive to influence, especially in the environment, people that you work with, given the pressures. So interestingly, I'm excited about this question to ask you, Michelle, because
Yeah.
I've asked this question to also many people in my past.
Okay. Love
So
it.
what's your definition of success?
Okay. The
All
million
right,
dollar
the
question.
million-dollar question. Yeah, everyone I speak to will have a different perspective, which is fine,
Sure.
but I'd love to
Absolutely.
get your insight.
Yeah. For myself, well, I can tell you what success isn't, first of all, for me.
Yeah, good. Yeah, let's tell everyone what success isn't. 'Cause-
Yeah, for me, what success isn't is this what I've coined the success survival cycle. Yeah. And so it's that overriding, overcompensating, striving, achieving, when you're not in possession of your possessions are in possession of you. And it's the continual upkeep of trying to survive versus thrive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is different. There's different relativity of scales for everybody, right?
Yeah.
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 But when your demand is exceeding your capacity, you are in the survival success cycle. Yeah. When you're burnt out, when you are stressed, when you are looking for that glass of wine or something to de-stress you at the end of the day, when you are, barely keeping up the calendar. The busy pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah, the busy
Busy
pandemic.
pandemic. Yeah. Where is the living? Where is
Yeah.
the living?
Yeah, where is
And
it?
so I watched this for years because I was caught in it for years in corporate, and in my own business, from clinical practice to whatever I've been in. It's just like there's got to be more to this.
Yeah.
There's got to be more to this.
Yeah.
And so unpacking that, and what I now know for myself and the beautiful people I have the very good privilege to work with is what I call the trilogy of true success.
Nice.
And that's health, wealth, and happiness.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Health, wealth, and happiness.
Yeah.
And so without health, we've got nothing. If we're 80% of disharmonies, mental and physical, are based from stress related.
Yeah.
And again, we're now seeing burnouts up to 67 to 90%. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's stress related, survival related. And again, this is post-pandemic stats because we've got this upsurge of WTF, which can become the waking to freedom moment when we know how to translate, to transition, to transform.
Yeah, nice.
So when we understand health first, wealth, and whatever that means to the individual, with the health now, we have so many incredible tools with biohacking. We'll be able to see the gene blood testing, We're also becoming so aware of, from the industrial age of food commercialism to what real food is, what real nutrition is.
Yeah.
We don't need to be overcomplicated in it, but we do have these incredible, I started as a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner and I still am. I still am an acupuncturist.
Nice.
Well, people don't know that still these days.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
love
It's
it.
it's it's the foundation. It's the foundation. Quick segue. I heard Bruce Springsteen years ago talk about how he always goes back to play in blues bars, like, just small little intimate blues bars, because
Yes,
it's the essence of where he came from. Yeah. And traditional Chinese medicine is the essence of where I came from. The ancient teachings have not changed in
yeah,
5,000 years documented. We can
yeah,
take Western diagnostics, which 50% cannot diagnose in
yeah,
Western medicine, but we can
yeah,
look at that symptomology to reverse it to causative issue, right?
yeah, yeah,
We now have these incredible, and I'm all for functional medicine. Yeah. I'm
yeah.
all for functional medicine movement, integrative. And again, this is, finishing my bachelor in China all those years ago,
Wow,
seeing Eastern and
awesome.
Western medicine working together under the same roof, right? Yeah. And it was just phenomenal. And they used to look at us and say, what is it with you Westerners? One leg hobbling, I'm like, yeah, we know.
We
Meaning
know.
we've divided our the medicine model. So
Yeah,
yes, health is the primary
yeah,
movement, as you would
yeah,
know, Zen, with
yeah,
the yoga and
yeah.
your incredible teachings.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, wealth. What does that mean to you? It doesn't necessarily mean money, and money is so anchored
Yeah,
to survival again,
yeah,
right?
correct.
And we can look at this situation on the planet right now in two ways: empowerment or
Yeah,
disempowerment.
oh, disempowerment. Yeah,
Yeah, we have
yeah,
we have such an incredible access to means, but until we unhook from money being survival to being understanding the safety and the empowerment that we have around it,
mm,
we no longer get focused on wealth being about money.
yeah, yes,
It's the wealth of the connection to the source and the alignment of the truth of who we are,
yes.
and money flows from that. Yeah,
Beautiful.
money
We call
flows from
we
that.
call that self-actualization, self-realization in the
Love that.
yogic world.
Yes.
Absolutely spot on. And I just love how you interpret that, because those key areas are so important when we talk about success.
Yeah.
But then, most people, they will discover that through their journeys, to simplify, to amplify. But
Yes.
to look at those key areas, that is huge, especially now.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. And I'm all for simplicity, the power of the simplicity. I
yeah,
100% agree.
yeah,
The minimalist, quality over quantity. Minimalist doesn't mean you have nothing. It means you have the highest quality and the alignment to what you need versus what
yes,
you believe you need to consume. Yeah.
correct. Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
love that. And then there's happiness, right?
yeah, absolutely. That's the byproduct of happiness. So it leads me to our amazing podcast interview. As we're coming down to our last question, I want to keep continuing because you're inspiring me as well, Michelle, and that's your gift. So to the people who are going to be listening to this podcast, what's one gold nugget you'd like to leave us with? I know you probably have many, I know, but I want you to, zero in and go, you know what?
Yeah.
This is the nugget.
This is the nugget, my
Yeah.
golden nugget. Empower your difference. Your difference is the difference that you are here to make. Lean
Correct.
into what you are avoiding.
Yeah.
Lean into that part of you that is wanting to be expressed, because
Yes.
that is where you're going to find your trilogy of true success, health, wealth, and happiness. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Your difference is the difference you are here to make.
Absolutely awesome nugget. Because
Yeah.
it can
Don't
go
be,
deeper, right? It can go deeper,
oof, I could go many places with that one.
right? And this is why you should get Michelle to come to your organization so she can deep dive with you in that nugget, because it's so important. But I wanted to thank you so much for
Mm,
joining us today on the Gold Coast Speakers podcast, Michelle. I always find it invigorating, enlightening, because I feel your energy. And, if you'd like Michelle to speak at your next event right here on the Gold Coast, I can personally recommend her as a speaker. And she will not only deliver to your audience, but I know you'll walk away feeling empowered like I was 15 years ago and still today. So, head over to the Gold Coast Speakers directory on goldcoastspeakers.com.au and you can find all the links and contact directly for Michelle and a whole range of amazing speakers. So thank you again, Michelle, for your amazing time and allowing me the honor of having this chat.
Thanks for tuning in to the Gold Coast Speakers podcast. If you loved this episode, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're looking for your next speaker or even ready to step onto more stages yourself, you know where to find us. goldcoastspeakers.com.au. I'm JJ Person-Jones, founder of Gold Coast Speakers. And until next time, keep showing up, keep showing your voice and making waves.